So, ladies and gentlemen, at least most of us do have the luxury of believing that the world is peaceful. Because maybe the place that we live in is very peaceful. But personally, I want to tell you that a lot of people are living a very terrible life out there where they're not sure if tomorrow they'll wake up to see another day. Now, what am I talking about? We have a lot of wars. When I say a lot, I mean there is war happening in each and every place right now. Whether it is Russia versus Ukraine, whether it is Israel versus Gaza, or whether it is Israel versus Palestine. And it is not fun for me to talk about this. But because I do people they're going to wake up or they're not going to wake up, it is that causes me to talk about this topic. Because, ladies and gentlemen, when we want to become peaceful, whether we sign treaties, whether we sign ceasefires, there is something that is going to happen if people are not willing and people are not ready to say that, okay, let us put our arms down and talk. Look at this. There have been a lot of casualties, whether it is death, whether it is people getting maimed, or whether it is people getting... It is just an issue of you have the privilege to live. They don't know that it is a right for you to live. And it is by this that I'm here talking about how to have a peaceful world and how we can maintain a peaceful world. Now, my thoughts are going to be kind of controversial, and most of you or some of you won't like what I'm going to say. But this is what I have to say. The dream of a peaceful world, free from wars and free from death, requires just more than treaties and ceasefires. It demands a transformation in how nations relate, how societies resolve their conflict, and how humanity values life over power. And I want you to take that how humanity values life over power very seriously. Because listen to this. A lot of these wars are happening because the people at the top, the people leading the government, the people that have been given the charge of being the heads of these countries, they're not ready to settle those wars. And maybe they're using these wars as baits for them to stay in power forever. Why am I saying this? Because when you look at these worlds or these countries that have themselves Ukraine, resulting in the death of 6 individuals, including 2 children, and injuries at least 17 others. This attack also caused power outages across the country, highlighting the ongoing threat to Ukraine's infrastructure. Now, I want you to see if a war can become a solution to anything. Because when you look at this, all you read is devastation. People have died. People have gotten injured. Countries, electricity, and everything is getting lost in the wars. All for what? Territorial gains. Now, Russian forces have reportedly captured the village of Pavlivka in the Zaporizhia region and Ivanivka in Dnipropetrovsk. These actions are part of a broader strategy by Russia to assert control over areas in Ukraine. Now, what do I want to say? In the ongoing context of conflicts such as the Russia war in Ukraine and the Israel-Gaza crisis, the path of peace must be mutual recognition of human dignity, accountability for violence, and genuine dialogue. Because these wars are not only geopolitical struggles, but also humanitarian catastrophes that fracture generations and fuel cycles of hatred. And I can assure you this, there are some people who are taking part in these wars, and they don't know why they're taking part in them. They don't have a reason to tell you that I'm taking part in this war because of this and this and this. They're just taking part in those wars because they've been sent to take part in those wars. And the people who are sending them, they have nothing to lose. All they can do is give orders, watch, and see as these wars happen. But I'm here to champion for something. What I'm here to champion about? I am here to champion about how we can resolve these wars so that we do not have a lot of people losing the most critical thing in their life, and that is the right to live. The right for you to become someone in the society, the right for you to have your own lineage, the right for you to one day think about a prosperous future. And if we do not do this, then we have lost everything. The first thing is to prevent a future world wars. We must prioritize this diplomatic courage where leaders have to meet, such as the leader of Russia and the leader of Ukraine meeting, so that they can talk about how they can resolve these wars, instead of using the military boys and girls who are going there to lose their lives to talk using guns and barrels. Because when they do that, then they do not have another chance for them to come back and negotiate, because you're going there to die. Another thing is justice and accountability. Now, what is supposed to happen? If war crimes and violations of international laws must be addressed transparently to prevent impunity, then we need to do it as fast as possible. Let us get these people who promote war crimes accountable to the rule of law. Sometimes I sit and wonder, what is the work of UN? What is the work of ICC? If all these wars are happening, and then we say that we have an international body that is kind of ensuring that the world is a peaceful place to coexist, then what is their work? And therefore, I do ask you this, or I do challenge the UN to do this. Why don't you kind of fasten the rate at which we can talk about stopping these wars? All we see, or all we have to experience, is people coming with suits and people talking about climatic change, or people talking about tech, people talking about the future. They forget that there is one important aspect that must happen before even anything to do with technology happens, before anything to do with climate change happens, and that is people have to live. Because we may be protecting a world in which we will not have enough people to live in. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to challenge you to do this. Bring those leaders who are not respecting the rule of law to respect the rule of law and become accountable to the rule of law. Let us not allow leaders to lie to us as their citizens that they're trying to promote peace, while all they are doing is they are fighting for the world to the things that are happening under their watch. Now, the third thing that I want us to do is let us have inclusive dialogue. Now, peace processes must include all aspects of communities, especially marginalized voices, to ensure lasting solutions. Now, when we talk about that, we ask ourselves, what does Palestine want? What does Israel want? What does Ukraine want? What does Russia want? What does each country that is in war want? If we answer that question, then we get the ability to know what is the starter of these wars. But if we do not ask people what they want and try to come to a solution, or try to come to the middle of the solution, then we are doing nothing, because everyone will be fighting for what they want. And without that, then we do not have the ability to see what is important and what is wrong. Another thing is for us to try and educate future generations. Let us tell them that it is good for them to live a peaceful life, where we teach them empathy, critical thinking, conflict and resolution from a very young age, so that if someone comes later and try to pollute their mind and tell them that we have to fight for us to get peace, then they'll be in for a road shock. Because if we do not have inclusive dialogue, then there's something that are going to happen later in future just because we do not educate our children. So let us try and educate everyone and tell them that it is important for the world to live peacefully. And it is important for them to know and to appreciate the importance of a peaceful world. That is why I used to tell you, I'm telling you this. There is somewhere in this world that someone is not, or they are not sure if by tomorrow they'll get a chance to have them achieve their dreams. Now, you may believe in a very peaceful place or a very peaceful country where you do not see wars, where you do not see young kids and boys or young girls and boys being starved to death, or where there is young boys and young because they cannot reach their school, or because the infrastructures of their schools has been bombed down. But what are you doing for those who are not in such an environment? That is why I'm telling you this. I need you to go out there and try to talk about a peaceful world. That is what I want you to do. Now, another thing that we should do is we should have economic equity and opportunity. Why? Because most of the time, poverty is the leading aspect that gets these men and women in these wars. Because if people are busy and they have something to do, then they will be more focused on building a productive world than being focused on how they're going to bomb or how they're going to fight their next neighbor. And it is a very important thing that you have to think about. Are there enough educated people at the place that you are? That is a question. And how do you think you are educating these people to become productive people, to improve their life of living in future so that they cannot become poor and be baited into these wars? Now, the last thing that I want to talk about, and I need everyone to listen to this. If we cannot embrace disarmament and demilitarization of stockpiles of arms and arms trade, then we are doing nothing. Because the people who promote these wars are these people who are making these exotic, powerful, next-gen fighting weapons. You armor someone with a very dangerous tool, and they have nothing to do with it. Let's say it's a gun, it is a bomb, a missile. And all they can think about is, how can I hurt the next person, or how can I look for an enemy so that I can use this tool? And that is one of the things that have promoted peace, that have promoted wars in this world. Because every country, whether it is China, whether it is America, whether it is Russia, or whether it is France, whether it is Europe, every country is fighting and is trying to see who has the best production of the best weapons in the world. Today there is a missile that is traveling at a very high range. Tomorrow there is someone making a very explosive bomb that can clear a place in minutes. The problem came. Artificial intelligence kind of being instilled in these weapons. No pilots in helicopters or in these jets. Just being controlled remotely by people. Now, what will this do? It will promote wars. And if we have to live in a peaceful world, then we need to tone down on these things. So, ladies and gentlemen, I do urge all of you today to go out there and tell the world that the right way to live is a peaceful world. And I hope